Moving on around the opportunity cycle, talking about tuning. So we've done a good job with maintaining, we're doing a good job with operating the building. We've got some sort of structured management process around all that. Let's have a look at tuning for improvement. There's a lot of talk about tuning buildings. Words like optimisation, words like retro commissioning, the confusion between what commissioning is and what tuning is. Quite simply put, tuning is making what you have got now to work the best it can. And as such, I'd argue that it's the first best money you can spend. As I pointed out before, first thing you do with your old car, let's get it tuned up and run as good as it can. It's all about improving that HVAC system side of things. As I said before, there's at least half a star in it. And what comes with that is some fairly serious energy and water cost savings. You inevitably end up with better system performance, inevitably. So tenant complaints, all those sorts of issues. You inevitably end up with improved asset life. So that chiller that I mentioned before that was starting 20 times a day, now starts 2 times a day. And that's put 10 years on its life. You end up with a very intimate knowledge of the system. So that stands you in good stead when change happens. So there are people who understand the system better than they would otherwise, so you can make some real judgments about what to do and what not to do. And it has a very good return on investment. It's the first best money you can spend in terms of improving your system. So you think about the HVAC system that we refreshed ourselves on earlier, all the different components, all the different motors, all the different devices, all the different dampers and air handling units and chillers and boilers and pumps and what have you. What you're trying to achieve is just the right amount of air at just the right temperature, no overcooling or overheating in the system, to every space in the building, in every season, in every minute of the day. So you're looking, in effect, in some ways, there's an image up there of an orchestra. You know, as soon as you've got one musical instrument in an orchestra off tune or a beat out of place, you'll pick it up. To have everything balanced and working nicely, that's where you start quite often. Things work together but don't work together well. After the first season, you've sort of got them working together with some interfaces, and after a couple of seasons, you've actually got the thing working well nicely together. It is a multiple season thing. If you think about it, the major determinant in how HVAC systems work are indeed the seasons, in terms of outside air temperature, in terms of solar load on the building. People come and go the same every day pretty much. So what's the variable in how HVAC systems work? It's seasonal. Seasons are a finite time. You get a couple of months to get it right, and then you come back the next year and make sure you've got it right. And then things are relatively sweet. A big issue you'll find when you get people in to tune your building is that the building control system isn't right for tuning. The thing hasn't been installed to be tuned. It's actually been installed just to run the building. So your specialist won't have access to the levers they need to make the changes typically. They won't have access to the information they need to be able to diagnose where the issues are. So inevitably you'll need to spend a little bit of money on your building control system before your specialist can come in and start to tune the thing properly. Those specialists need to understand not just how HVAC works, but how it uses energy, which is a slightly different thing. They also need to understand control systems, and preferably they need to understand control systems down to code level to get the best out of the process. It's a process that needs regular intervention. We have people dialing into buildings at 10 o'clock at night every day of the week. It's a labour-intensive process to get the change and to assure the change. It's a scientific process as well, so records keeping are important. So people are coming and saying they can tune your building and will turn up once a quarter, do a bit of a seasonal tickle up, and they're not keeping records. They're not really tuning the building. There's a whole range of stakeholders, which I'll touch upon in a minute, that need to be coordinated and engaged. It really is a team sport as such. There's a lot of different conflicting objectives in a building. So reporting and communications, making sure people understand what's happening is pretty important as well. What is it not? So in the first instance, it's about making what you've got work properly, solving your problem, fixing the thing, making it, getting all the miss out of the engine, if you like, and making sure the clutch isn't slipping. What is it not? There are a range of systems in the market now where, with the abilities we have with computing power and big physics, we can wrap a model around the building and understand from a big physics perspective how it works in different seasons and what have you. And from that we can learn what we need to do to poke and prod the air conditioning system to get a better outcome. Now that works to a point, but it doesn't fix the systems. It's also based on a fairly cynical assumption in my view that these systems are too hard to fix, and they are not. So there's a range of these things in the market that work to a point, but they don't fix your problems in some ways. A bit like putting a Band-Aid on the building. You can track the progress of your tuning. This is what we call a smoking gun chart. You can see where you start, you can see where you make different interventions in terms of the controls, and you can start to see where the energy efficiency improvements are coming in, normalised against weather, normalised against hours of operation, so washing all the things that might confuse things out, so you're getting right to the core of the energy efficiency of the system. So you can actually track that. You can track the dollars saved at the same time. You can track the progress towards improved star rating at the same time. You can even track and actuarialise the benefits that you're realising in terms of improved life cycle. You can track the whole thing through and you can see where it's going. Also mentioned before the players involved and why it's a team sport. It's important that everybody involved understands their role. There's some real potential for conflict. Most entities in that little map there over time have promised or offered contribution to energy efficiency in the building. So if you've got a contractor who's got the meters in the building, they're also now trying to add some value adds by giving your property managers a call every month and giving them a bit of a hurry up about why this pump was running last night, why it wasn't. The facilities managers, the property managers, I'm sure those of you in the room would have something around energy efficiency and improving buildings in your contracts. The controls company is interested in doing a similar sort of things and has probably promised that as part of their contract. The maintenance provider is probably feeling a bit guilty about not being in the game. And in the middle you've got a building tuner who's trying to make a difference and trying to manage all of this whilst people are feeling a bit nervous about the whole process as well. So it's important that you recognise these things are a team sport and people are engaged and everybody's trying to help. We talked about ROI before. So tuning takes the application of skilled labour, so it's a dollars an hour thing. It's about attendance. But as I mentioned before, you also will probably need to do a bit of CapEx on your building control system as well to get it fit to tune. If you take the labourer alone, it's about an 18-month payback for about half a star. If you put the BMS upgrades in, obviously depending on how long that piece of string is, it might run out to 24 months or so. But the payback's quite attractive, and the dollars involved can be quite significant if you're talking half to 1 star in a building. It's not a bad, as I say, the best first money you can spend. Now, tuning leaves a legacy. It leaves some residual benefits that are ongoing. You've got a tuned system. You do need to pay attention, no different to a car. You do need to pay attention. It's not tuned for life as such. And continual attention actually does add benefit. We've got buildings we've been tuning since 2008 and they're still improving measurably and still worthy of additional attention. There's a portfolio of buildings I can think of where we've got everything to 4.5 star, which was the owner's intention, and now it's all sitting around 4.9 star, and they said, okay, well, let's go for something over 5 because the benefits are there. So continually looking, providing it's worthwhile is a good thing.